so we can get a little bit of a better look at the gauntlet or so. Um, like I said, this is my favorite weapon of the combat, just because the way the weapon deploys. Excuse me. I always love that. I don't know. It just looks cool to me. Maybe not to you guys. But I like when things change like that. Um, it's almost like a transformer, but obviously not as cool as that. I don't know that I'm talented enough to do Ironhide's awesome things, but well, anyway. So that is what layers are good for. So if I wanted, I could just isolate that Gatling part. Here's the frames for the deployment. All right, so that is that. My layers manager, snap back to camera. So once you have your animation, oh, by the way, this is the first round of animation. I'll do a slow playback for you. You see, it's basically the same so far. Gatling deployment, camera is already different. I changed that, and that's how he rocked back originally. And I would bring the firing in there. See how he's gradually leaning more and more forward. It's really, I mean, I like the idea, but it's very boring to look at. Boom. See, that doesn't seem like heavy shots being fired. Not only that, but his arms aren't jittering good, and camera movement I don't like. I changed all of that, and you'll see the run here. See how fast that was? We had to change that. Going way too quick. But like I said, this was the very first animation test, and I wanted to do it just to kind of get things going. I do that with all my animations. It's that's just how I do it. I don't know if others do it that way. Mm. But anyway, okay, so that's that. So what do I put in next is well, I have everything in place. I think what I did next was the fume aspect, because I wanted barrel fire or muzzle flare, I guess. It goes beyond muzzle flare though. It's actually, a flame being ejected from the barrels as it goes. So again, I made a new layer, and I start by naming the extras layers with an X, so it goes at the bottom of the list. I know where the things are gonna be, so I don't have to hunt through all these lists looking for F and fume. Of course, would be between helmet and chest sphere. So I put an X here. It goes all the way to the bottom of the list, and that's how I do it. So what do we have here that we're looking at? Originally, well, first we can look at so the fire, and I have super sprays, which is a max standard, two for each cannon fire. The first one, the little green spots you see here, represent what the fume will be um, solving from, and the big mist, these represent I guess like kind of like sparks or just like shreds of metal or whatever. Um, Fume doesn't have anything to do with those, but it's part of the firing component, so I put it all in the same layer. So in order to set up fume, you need to obviously bring up the fume environment, this box here. When I originally made this, I had two separate fume boxes, one for each, firing setup. And what happens when you start doubling fume up on top of one another, you start getting a bizarre, really strange, like a like relics left over. It doesn't render right. It's really strange. Let me see if I can find uh, the example of that video. Okay, so with the double boxes with fume, I found the video. It's 22, of course. Of this isn't even all the tests I did. But what we're gonna look for is when he starts shooting. This is a non-mobile camera viewport shot, which means there's no camera. It's just it's staying in the same position. We'll be able to get a good look of the smoke itself. And I want you to keep an eye on the smoke. See how, first of all, see how this side is receiving the light from the muzzle flare, and the other side over here isn't. This is all dark, so that's your first indicator that things are going wrong. I mean, double check all your stuff before you make a change, like creating a new fume box environment. But after the scene lights come back on, you want to watch in here because it starts to flicker, and it's just, I don't know. It messes up when you have more than one in there like that. By the way, in this shot, you get a better view of the ground smoke that kicks up using afterburn. So anyway, yeah, the smoke isn't looking right. Um, so I decided to go from a two box setup to a one box, which takes longer to solve, but it's worth it, you know. So that's the fume part of it, the fume portion of it. Originally, when I did the fume, I didn't even put smoke in there. I was gonna make it flames, and that was it. If we go back to test two, is it test two? Yeah, this is what it was originally gonna look like. I've I sped up the flicker. I changed the particle count and stuff like that later on, but originally I was just gonna have this with no smoke. I decided, fuck it, we'll do smoke. We'll go smoke. But that didn't come until later. So later I added smoke. Obviously, you saw the final render, and I was originally gonna make this a shade cell render, which obviously I didn't end up going with. So here's test two, where you see the spent shell casings, which we'll move on to right now.